back to the Jays But Down podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and I'm here today with Coach Justin Roberts, here, head coach at Eagles Landing Christian Academy. Coach, thank you for joining us on the show today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me. It's awesome to do these things, especially with an ELCA alum. So,
yes, sir.
It's a good time.
Yep. So, Coach, obviously this will be your first upcoming season here at ELCA. You used to coach at University High School in Orange City, Florida.
Correct.
So, you guys, the past two seasons went 19-5. You led them to their first district championship. So, just talk about what played into the process of you leaving here, coming here to Georgia. Like, how did that even happen? Just talk to us about that.
I was at university for a long time, 11, 12 years. I was a head coach for the last two. And it was just a really good place. It was a really special place. But I'd always felt called to be there. And it's hard to put into words that calling and that feeling. But, as that season wound down and we had a great year and it was a great group, we were kind of recycling into another, era and group of kids. And, I felt like it was time. I felt like it was time for a new place and a new change. And it wasn't anything, about that place. It's just, it's you're there somewhere for so long, and we've been through so many different rebuilds and recycles and stuff. So, I knew my heart was calling me other places. I didn't know where yet, and so I looked around, had people ask me to interview. I interviewed at a lot of places. Some places I respectfully turned down, some places it just wasn't a good fit, maybe on their end. And, so I came up here and interviewed and, actually got to Trey Brinson, the pastor Trey, the pastor of the church here. We knew each other about Valdosta State. We kind of helped start FCA there, the football team back when I played, and he was a little bit younger too. We kind of connected, got to meet with Dr. Curley, came up here and interviewed with Coach Queen, and, they were just so gracious the whole process. They wanted to make sure, and I thought it resonated with me. Dr. Curley always said, we want to do what's right for us, but we want it to be the right fit for you, and so it wasn't like they forced me into a decision. It wasn't like they rushed me. They brought my family and I up here so we could see it, so we could, really experience it and see what the school day's like. So it was a great process, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And they bring you here, of course, Terrence Rogers being a coach previously the past couple of years, and then obviously everybody knows Coach Guess what he did his 15 years.
Coach Guess, who's that? No, I'm just kidding. He's the legend.
I heard him.
Yeah.
So just talk about the expectations. You're coming to coach a historic program, which has been very successful,
right?
And over the years. So what's going through your mind when you first got the job? Okay, like, are you feeling the pressure, or what's that like?
I think first of all, those two are awesome people, and I actually reached out to both of them prior to taking it and even after taking it. Coach Rogers was incredibly gracious and humble, and it's not easy. That transition process isn't easy, and he was just really, really, the model way of you would want to handle things. And I can tell you, nobody loves ELCA football more than him, and what he did to try to help it out. I think the pressure is a privilege, it's awesome that we're at a place where there are expectations. I think we face new challenges than maybe previous years and things that, we didn't face in the past, with the changing landscape, the GHSAA and some of their new rules. And then, we're in a 4A region this year, that's a challenge. I don't know that that's our long-term plan, but, but I do think that it's a privilege to be in a place where there is expectations and where, there is a culture of winning, and there is, you've got these guys on the wall, and you look by them every day, and the Isaac Rochelle's and the Keontae Greens and the Keaton Mitchells, and the DJ Chesters, and there's so many players that have come through, Colton Hood, that they're not just like going to college. There's some schools where they send kids to college and they go and they have a cup of coffee and they don't really play. ELCA sends guys to college that are prepared and ready to go. And I think that it relates back to our school's mission statement, kingdom focused, gospel centered, and college prep, and we are preparing these kids for the next step. And so I think it's an awesome challenge, and it's something that we relish in, and it's going to take time. I mean, anything worth doing, does. We got to build it back the right way. But brick by brick, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they laid bricks every hour. So that's what we got to do.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Like I said, I used to go here from 2017 to 2021.
Yeah.
So like during that.
Good little stretch.
Yeah, good little stretch.
Yeah.
It was a good stretch. But it's funny, man. Like that was almost 8 years ago. It's crazy now to see how these new crop of kids coming in, and so just talking about that. You're looking at your team right now. You guys obviously, I think you're still in summer workouts.
Yeah.
Start school soon. So what are you seeing so far from summer workouts and these guys that you see right here going into next season?
I think the thing I really like about this group is they have a respect for the past. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the things that we want to make sure we do too, is we want to bring guys back in. We want to connect them. We're not going to hide from that. You know what I mean? We're not going to hide from we're sitting on the shoulders of legends. You know what I mean? Like the guys that have paved the way for us. We need to embrace that, and so that's something that's a huge part of us and who we are. And then I think the other thing too that I like about this group is they want to get ELCA back. You know what I mean? I don't know that we're going to win a state championship this year. But at the same time though too, I know that this group wants to help lay the foundation. And I told them, this group is going to do more for ELCA football and probably get the least amount of credit of any class that we have, because they're going to lay the framework. And you kind of give the metaphor of somebody holding on to the rope and their hands are slipping. You know what I mean? And these guys, what I like about them and I respect about them is not only are they holding on to the rope, but they're wrapping around, they're locking arms, and they're not letting go. And they're doing what they can to keep ELCA, the ELCA football that we all know, because those 4 letters mean a lot. They mean a lot to the people in the community. They mean a lot to the state of Georgia. And so, people have gotten us. People got us a little bit last year, and we're going to be young this year. They may get us, here and there, but you better get us now because we're excited to get us back to where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So who are some guys that you, in particular, that you and your staff that you guys are impressed with, and that you're looking forward to seeing?
We have a lot of really talented kids. And I think sometimes you look at the numbers, and the numbers aren't what we had, back when you played here. I think we'll probably dress anywhere between 35 to maybe 40 on a Friday night for a football game. But of those 35 to 40, there's a high percentage that can play. I really like our quarterback. We got 2 really good quarterbacks. Luke Stansel and Casey Kerrigan, both really, really good throwers of the football. Learning the offense, learning the system. I think our O-line has improved. I think, last year they struggled a little bit, but some of them maybe weren't in the right spots of the puzzle, and that's what O-line is a puzzle. You got to kind of figure out where they fit. I really like Mekhi Harless, really athletic for his size and frame. Him and Ferg, Elijah Long are 2 younger guys, rising juniors that are about as athletic and strong. They're what you look for. And then Dirk is our center. He's really, really smart. He's just a good kid, reliable, smart football player. And what I like about having Dirk there is what he lacks in foot speed, he makes up for in his knowledge, and he knows where every guy needs to go and where they're connected. Skill-wise, Joseph Thomas at wide receiver is going to be rising sophomore. He's had a really, really good camp. I think he's going to have a great year. And then, on the defensive side of the ball, Rush Phelps, Judah Tyler, Chris Craddock are some linebackers who are really athletic and kind of hybrid role. The modern defense, they kind of have those tweeners, that they're kind of a little bit of both, and they do that. J-Dog, Jaden Anthony, our corners, worked really hard. And then, we got some younger guys too that are kind of, maybe new to football but are learning. I mean, Legend Jenkins, Janoris Jenkins' son, is kind of stepping in as a 9th grader. And so we got a lot of guys that love football. They're fun to coach. Went out to beg them to go out to practice, and they want to get better, and they make a mistake, they learn from it, and they grow. And then up front on the D line, CJ Matthews, he thinks he's a running back. We joke with him, he's running back 3, but he's just a really athletic guy, and so they're just a good group to coach and a good group to be around. And I'm sure I missed somebody, but some years, man, you coach a bunch of kids and you're like, these are the 3 kids I'll mention. That's not this group. I could go on about them.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good thing,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So just talk about, what is your philosophy that you want to, bring to ELCA football? Like, where does offensively, defensively, just like when people line up against ELCA on Friday nights this year, what should they expect?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it starts with culture, and I don't think culture can just be something that you put on the back of a shirt or a poster that you put on the wall.
Yeah.
I want to be a tough football team. I want to play the game the right way. We talk about the word strain a lot, and can you exert yourself to the utmost? And where does that come from? The Bible verse talking about whatever you do it for God's glory, not for man. So we're going to strain and go as hard as we can for as long as we can, because that's what God's called us to do. That's what God has given us the ability to do. And anything less than that is a disrespect of the talent that God's given us. And so we want teams, when they play us, to go, man, that team was sound, they were disciplined, and man, they played hard. You know what I mean? Offensively, we want to be balanced. I think everybody says that. Some years you're able to be a little bit more balanced, and balance looks different. Some years, but last year, my last school, probably the closest balanced group we ever had. I mean, we had a little bit over 2,000 yards passing, a little bit over 2,000 yards rushing. We had 3 wide receivers with over 300 yards reception, 2 running backs with over 800 yards, one with 1,200. So we want to have all 5 eligibles, involved in the game, because I think that's harder to defend. It's if you're scouting the team and they go, okay, they only get it to these 2 guys. I can kind of eliminate that. And defensively, we want to be aggressive but calculated. You know what I mean? We want to make them earn it. I think the more you can limit explosives, the better. You know what I mean? And if you make we try to say that all the time, make them snap it again. Make them snap it again, make them snap it again. Can we get them to the ground and make them snap it again? So, it's just, and then the other thing too is, when you get there defensively, you always want to try to take away their best guy. We want to, if their backup singer beats you, so be it. Nobody goes and buys a ticket to go see Beyonce and listen to the backup singer. Yeah. So people are coming to see Beyonce. We got to take Beyonce out of the game. You know what I mean? Can we take their star out, whatever they like to do, and can they beat us with the other guy? And if they do, you shake their hand and say, hey man, good job. You had it tonight. But the worst thing is if they got a guy that's got 40 touches a game, and the next guy's got 3 touches, and the guy that has 40 touches a game beats you. Because then they're doing what you expected.
Yeah. And you talk about that on defense, limiting explosive plays.
Yeah.
Right? That's huge, man. That's huge.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, they're gonna bust one every now and then, but get them down.
Get them to the ground.
Get them down. Get them to the ground.
Make them snap it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, offensively,
yeah.
I think even now, Coach, even in college, NFL, you see this it's obviously becoming more of a passing game now, but it's important, I feel like, to still,
run the ball.
Yeah. If you're able to run the ball, you keep defenses guessing, because if you can pass it too, that's great.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of teams, it's just.
No. I love running the ball. I love the O-line. I played at Valdosta State. And I think one of the good things for me in my coaching career was I got paired with a wing T coach who really understood some of the run scheme and blockings, and that really helped me kind of understand the run game. And I think anybody that wants to be a successful head coach needs to understand O-line play and run blocking and schemes, because like you said, if you don't, they have to be connected. They have to be connected for play action pass and passing and stuff like that. So, and O-lineman, if you ask me O-lineman, would you rather pass block or run block? They're going to say run block. They want to come off the ball. So I think that's in our culture and DNA as well, is we're going to be, tough up front. But yeah, you got to run the ball. You got to establish the run. We went 19-5 over the last 2 years, and of those 5 games that we lost, I can probably tell you we didn't do very good in the run game that game. And so it just makes everybody else's life easier. The more they load the box, and the more that opens up in the pass game. You know what I mean? And so yeah, running the ball is critical. Protecting the football is critical. And finding a way to get explosive. But there's nothing more hopeless as a defense than a team running it, right at you, and you can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? And you got to make them, and you love it. It's just, and there's nothing better than offense when you know that you're moving another man against his will, and he can't do anything about it.
Best feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
I used to play O-line, so trust me, Coach. I love that.
Yeah, there you go. Coming off the ball, striking somebody.
It's the best feeling ever. Especially then when you march your way down the field and you score, and it just feels
the euphoria, and you're going to get a water break too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Coach, like I said, that's pretty much it. Just one more question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to coaches, or I guess younger coaches that are trying to become head coaches, getting involved more into the game, and just in your experience, what could you say to them?
There's a few things. One, I think there's no job too small or too big. I think you see it a lot on social media. A lot of younger coaches come in and they want to, be a coordinator right away, or they want to be, this, that, or the other. One of the things we try to say in our program is that it doesn't matter who does the job as long as the job gets done.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. I think it's an important characteristic of servant leadership. You have to be willing, and there's a difference between delegation and there's a difference between, just brushing it off and having somebody else do it. So that's the number one thing. Number two, your family. You got to have a family atmosphere. You have to genuinely love the kids and your kids. Because people see that. And that would probably be the third thing I would just say is be yourself. Because kids are smarter. And the kids have a different relationship with coaches than they did 20 years ago. Even 10 years ago, coming up on when you played for Coach Guest, you did whatever Coach Guest said because that's what Coach Guest said.
Right.
It's different nowadays, and that's across the board. And you hear college coaches say that same stuff. So you got to get to know the kids. You got to love for the kids. You got to care for the kids. And I found that if you genuinely care for the kids, that's not the reason why you do, but if you genuinely do, they'll run through a wall for you because they know at the end of the day you have their back. And so, I think one thing hopefully my players will always say is that I've always been in their corner, even if I was the only one in their corner. Now, at the end of the day, they got to help themselves too. I'm throwing you the life raft to keep you from drowning.
Yeah.
You can't pull me down with you. You gotta save yourself too. But you got to really care for the kids, get to know them, and see them more than just football players. You got to see them as, obviously, because our goal isn't to just make football players. Your goal is to make them better fathers, better husbands, and I would think you would say that you're a better man because you played under Coach Guest, and I think, our goal is for kids to go, man, I'm a better father and a husband and a brother and a son because I learned those lessons from football. And I think football teaches us, it's the greatest team sport in the world because it teaches you those lessons.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yep.
Football is the best game. I love it. It's unquestioned.
Absolutely.
But Coach, thank you for your time again. Come on my show. I really much appreciate it. I wish the best of luck to you guys this upcoming season. It's going to be tough, but I know you guys got it. Like you said, brick by brick, day by day.
Absolutely.
That's how you do it, so take it one step at a time. But yeah, thanks again,
I
Coach.
appreciate you. Go Chargers.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Chargers.